Hello everyone and welcome. Today I'm delighted to introduce you to Taylor Martin, freelance photographer and personal trainer with Formula Fit in Silverdale, and also my daughter. So welcome Taylor, hello.
Thank you, thank you.
Today Taylor's going to talk to us about how we can prepare for summer with great nutrition and exercise. So Taylor, before we get started, do you want to tell us, our audience, a little bit about yourself and about your personal training?
So I studied fine art photography and my Bachelor of Fine Arts, as well as my honours. Recently just graduated from my honours. Moving more towards the fitness side of things, I have always been quite a sporty person. I've done a range of sports. I've been into different kinds of lifting and training at the gym since I was about 15 or 16. And recently at the start of this year got my certification as a personal trainer, along with a TRX certification and a spin certification. So I guess going into a bit about my personal training as a job, I work at Formula Fit. So I work through instructing classes as well as one-on-one sessions with clients. And I guess the difference between the two is classes are obviously more people in the group. And so being able to cater to different needs and not generalizing things, but being a little bit less one-on-one, hands-on, and being able to motivate them and inspire them the same way that I would if I was to have a PT. And then I guess that's where it goes into the difference. So a PT is a one-on-one session with me, and that's a little bit more specialized and customized to the client themselves, and developing that relationship between them so that I can cater to their needs and I can program based on their goals and their drives, and the way that I would train them depends on their personality types and things. So being able to figure out where on the scale they sit, so whether they need a little bit more affirmation and need a bit more inspiration to drive their exercise and performance, or whether they are on the other end and need a bit more tough love, a little bit heavy-handed, more stern approach. So I guess developing a broad overview of my clients so that I am able to cater to them and give them what they need.
That's great, because I've had experience with personal trainers before, but nobody has ever talked about the best way to communicate with me or what actually works in terms of motivation. They've just ploughed ahead with the actual exercise itself. So that to me sounds like quite a unique offering that you have there.
Yeah, I think a lot of trainers get wrapped up in the way that they should perform, rather than actually thinking about the way that their client reacts to specific cues and, as I say, like inspiration and motivation. I'm quite a people person. My main thing is that my clients are happy and that they're progressing, and if I don't know how they're going to react or I guess interact with me based on how I'm approaching them, it's kind of what's the point. So it's called personal training. Personal is before training.
Right.
So that's my main thing with training, is you need to focus on the client before you put yourself into it.
Ah, that's very cool. Okay, thanks, Taylor. All right, so we'll move along. We've got three questions, or I've got three questions for you today. So the first one is, I understand that we need great nutrition and exercise for our physical well-being, but if I'm not a gym goer and I'm just wanted to make some changes myself, how could I start?
So I'll just start off by saying, so I'm not certified in nutrition. In my PT certification, we do go over Ministry of Health guidelines and a brief overview. I've also done my own research, but I guess I can only give personal references to, I guess, tips and tricks. But as I said, I have done a decent amount of research and educated myself quite thoroughly. Honestly, the main thing that you want to focus on with nutrition is trying to find something that you can sustain. It's the same with your training as well. A lot of people, when they want to lose weight or they want to dive into goals is they'll go head first and cut out a bunch of stuff and overtrain, and they just can't sustain that. So as someone who's not, like, you don't necessarily have to go to the gym. So in terms of training, even if you're just walking, find something that you enjoy. Walking, you could do a sport, you could do yoga, Pilates, anything within your home, like even if it's just a short workout. I mean, these days we have so much available to us on the internet in terms of, like, lots of people post workout videos on YouTube and Instagram, and it's so accessible these days. So even just getting in something small.
Yeah.
And then with the nutrition side of things, it's more about, again, trying to find like a routine and being intuitive with your body. So the first thing that I tend to do is I will just be mindful of the processed foods that I put into my body, and I will replace it with vegetables. So there are statistics showing that in New Zealand, we're a little bit more meat heavy, and not really, like, we tend to have more meat than vegetables or fruit throughout the day. So that's something we want to be a bit mindful of. Fruit and vegetables are great for you. Yes, they have sugar, yes, they have carbs, but they're a natural source of fuel for your body. So it's a bit easier for your body to break down, and it will give you more substance. That doesn't mean stay away from meat. Meat's great. Protein will help you recover from any training that you are doing. Another tip is also like doing a food log. So being aware of what you are eating. So a lot of the time people will mindlessly eat, and that's when they notice, oh, actually, I probably shouldn't have eaten that. That didn't make me feel very good. And that's your body telling you, I don't really need this, or this didn't work for me. Let's try something else. Just being intuitive and understanding and listening to your body. And it sounds easy. It's not easy. It's taken me years to be able to listen to my body, but a lot of people will keep logs of their food, and then afterwards write how they felt, maybe right after the meal and an hour after the meal. And it just keeps you, like, keeps reminding you to listen, because your body is really good at sending you those signals.
Actually, I've thought about starting a food log myself, not because I'm conscious of my dietary requirements, but I know sometimes that around the lunchtime period, and this is only really, I suddenly feel really tired. So I'm putting, it must be something that I eat, because it's not my normal routine. So I don't know what it is, because I don't really consume bread. So I'm thinking I must keep a diary, because there's something I'm putting in my body sometimes that's making me get fatigue. And I don't like that fatigue, because I've got so much work to do.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it allows you to do, is it allows you to pinpoint things on those specific days where you do find that you crash. You're like, hold on, why did that happen? And it gets you just rethinking about what you can do. And maybe you try so say you had eggs on toast for breakfast, and then you find by that lunchtime point you're like, oh, I just feel drained and tired and sluggish. Then you might, like, the next day try a different breakfast and see how that feels for you, and just find something that works. So I mean, I've done it with myself. I find that eggs in the morning with a bit of toast actually works perfectly, and it keeps me going until lunchtime. I don't really have to snack. And that's just finding something that works for your body. Everyone's body is going to be different.
Exactly. Okay, that's great. Thank you, Taylor. Oh, just one more thing for you. So people who want to start at home, they don't need to rush out and get fancy equipment. I've seen you even use milk bottle containers filled with water. So just something to give you that bit of resistance. You might even start off with nothing at all, right?
Yep. So body weight training, if you're doing it from home, is amazing. It's a really good way to build up some cardiovascular work, as well as, like, you can actually do a lot. You usually tend to do more volume, so you'll be higher reps, or it'll be a form of HIIT training where you're working, say, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds rest. And that's really, really good for your body. But you can introduce little things like milk bottles of water, or I've used like cans of fruit and vegetables before, like baked beans, and that just gives you a little bit more resistance. But you don't need anything fancy. your body is really good. And as I said, there's so much out there these days of people improvising, especially with COVID, on what they can do from home, because we obviously weren't able to go out to gyms and we weren't able to stay connected through that way. So people were finding ways to reach out to other people in terms of workouts from home and what you can use around the house.
Great. Okay, so we'll move on to my next question. Are there different ways to eat and exercise to reach different goals? So you mentioned goals before, so not everybody's goals are the same. So an example I've got here is I might be looking to for muscle strength and flexibility, but my friend may be seeking fitness and an athletic looking body.
Yeah. So there's definitely ways that you want to eat and train to go towards your goals. And that's what a personal trainer sort of looks at, and a nutritionist as well. That is going to be your foundation. If you are training the wrong way, you're not going to get the goals that you want. They work hand in hand. And a lot of functions of training or components of training can overlap. So they can all work to support each other, or they can either be on the other end and you could have two completely conflicting components. So components like strength, endurance, high intensity, so anaerobic training, flexibility, all that sort of stuff. Those are your components of training. So if you're looking to build strength, you're going to be doing more sets with shorter reps and longer rest time. Strength is a performance-based, it's performance-based component of training. So it's not, you can build muscle from it, and that's where you would sort of bring those two to overlap. But if you're looking solely at strength, it's all about your performance. So as a PT, you would then structure their workouts so that they are having longer rest times, so their body starts to recover through that rest time, and they can almost perform on that next set at that same level, if not just below. So you're recovering over time. Whereas someone who wants to go a bit more athletic, athletic's quite broad, but say we took someone who was like a sportsman or a sportswoman, they need to be working on speed and agility. So being able to stay on their toes and work at high intensities. You think about football. You run down the field full force and then you get a goal. What do? You stop and then you reset. So high intensity training. So you could go from, as I said, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds rest, and that's sort of working. So there's definitely ways that you can do your training based around your goals, and it's the same with nutrition. So if you're wanting to build strength and you're wanting to build muscle, you need to be eating a bit more than if you were a bit more athletic and wanting to stay toned. So building muscle, there's a lot of different types. You could be toning, you could be building lean muscle. Some people do bulking techniques, and that's where the variation does happen. But there definitely is specific ways that you want to do things.
Right. So earlier on in that little question, were you saying that I could be at the gym doing this exercise and then I might do this exercise, but they actually negate each other because they shouldn't be done together? Is that a possibility?
Yes, in a way. It's a little bit less direct, I guess. It's more if you're doing a bunch of cardio, and so if your goals were, I want to build strength, but I also want to lose weight. I want to build muscle and I also want to lose weight. They're quite conflicting. So you need fat in order to build muscle. Muscle, when you're training, you break down tissue and you rip tissue, and then when it repairs, that's when it gets bigger and better. Bigger and stronger. So if you are then doing a bunch of cardio, you're kind of conflicting them. You might, especially in the beginning, if you just started at the gym or just training in general, you may get what's called newbie gains. So you may be able to do both and actually see a decent amount of result. But if you have been training for a while, your results are almost limited. So if you were to then just focus on strength and muscle first, then you can actually get a lot more results faster, and then you can move into dropping a little bit of body fat.
Right.
So you
okay.
be strategic in the way that you do things so that you can maximize your results.
Right. And it's also really important to be doing your exercises correctly and use, if you are using equipment, to use that correctly, isn't it? Because you could be doing all this exercise, and because you've done it incorrectly, you're not going to get the gains that you should be for the input, right?
Yeah, exactly. So again, maximizing those results. Also, in terms of technique, like injury is so easy to do in the gym, especially if you're unsure with what you're actually doing or what you're meant to be working. So if you're just doing an exercise, not understanding what body parts it's working or how it's meant to feel, then you're sort of just like doing something that you're not sure about and your body's not going to register. So there's something called mind to muscle connection. And it's actually a really, really strong thing. You could be doing the lightest weights, but really focus it. So say it was a bicep curl, really focusing on working your biceps, and you'll actually feel a really crazy burn just through that connection. And that's what you want to be doing while you're training. And so if you're unsure on what you're doing or what you're meant to be working or how it's meant to feel or what it's meant to do, you're kind of hitting your head against the wall and doing all this work and not really getting anything from it.
Right. Okay.
It is really important. And again, that's where a PT can come into play, because it's also performance based. A lot of people who have trained for a long time will go into autopilot as soon as they start to hit the weights or do some machines, because they've done it for so long, their body registers it as normal. And so you go into autopilot. You want to be pushing yourself at every single session. Not saying you're not going to get results from it, but they will be slower. And you, as I said, you want to maximize those results.
And I know that you work with people who have particular physical limitations some of your clients have. So it's really important that they get the right exercise in order for their well-being to be safe, isn't it?
Yep, exactly. So there's a few different things that can come into play. Injury is a huge one. That's probably the most common. So someone's hurt their back. There's particular things that will aggravate it and inflame it. With injury, you don't necessarily want to steer away from those exercises because they can be really good and they can teach your body how, as long as they're technique is good, it can actually teach your body to get used to that movement, and you can train them in a way that doesn't aggravate. Whereas someone who has someone that has something else going on that's not an injury, so I have someone who has a vein on the inside of their leg that gets clogged, and so the oxygen doesn't move down her leg, and there are specific exercises that aggravate it, but it's not her being lazy and it's not her being sore, it's her body physically not letting her do that exercise.
Right.
And so that's where you have to come into play, and you have to find other alternatives that work the same muscles, but in a different way that doesn't necessarily bring her to that point where she can't do it.
Right, okay. So it sounds to me a resounding message is, if you are going to engage with a personal trainer, you should make sure you engage with one that's really listening to your needs and actually does really know what you're doing, right? Yeah.
Exactly. As soon as, I mean, it's easy when you've got a perfect client that has no injuries, no background, family history, no health issues, but it's very rare that you get that. So if you are working with a trainer that doesn't know what they're doing or doesn't know how to cater to you, you're not getting that service that you're paying for, and you're not getting that service that's going to lead you to those goals.
Okay, thanks, Taylor. Okay, so we'll move on to my third and last question. So what are some suggestions about how we can get us, set ourselves up for success, bearing in mind we are heading into the season of Christmas, when frankly, some of us overindulge?
Yeah, well, Christmas time is, it's a family orientated time. So generally what happens is you've been working all year, people that do work all year round, and this is their time to relax. So they've got, I don't know, usually like 2 weeks off. It does vary obviously depending on person, but that's their time to zone out. And a lot of the time over Christmas, family celebrations comes with food. I think New Zealand as a whole, that's kind of where we traditionalize things. Christmas, Christmas lunch, Christmas dinner, breakfast, and then you usually have leftovers that you'll just eat throughout the next couple of weeks. So it's really normal, and there are things that you can do that makes you less likely to take huge steps back. It is really hard to say you have one day off and you just indulge. Yes, it's not the best thing, but your body does bounce back quite quickly. But
Right.
there are things that we can do that makes it less of a leap forward into the new year. So in terms of training, which is usually the hardest one for people to get in because they want to be doing things with their family. But something that I've tried to do in the past is train in the morning. As soon as you wake up, get out of bed before your body and your mind has time to second guess it. So you're not lying there, oh, should I get a workout in? Should I go for a walk? Should I get some stretches in? You just get up and you do it. It doesn't have to be long, could be like 20 minutes. You could go for a 10-minute walk, but at least you've done something and then you've achieved something already in that morning. And it makes you feel good. You've got endorphins flowing, and then you don't have to think about it for the rest of your day. You have the whole rest of your day to just enjoy and have time away. And then there also brings into people who are like, oh, I'm not a morning person though. Like, I don't like getting up early, or I don't want to train in the morning. I need my breakfast. Do the opposite. Do it right before you go to bed.
Wow.
It's actually really, really good to do training before you go to bed. Obviously, you want to give your body time to wind down, but say you did a 6-minute core workout. The next morning, you're going to feel really tight in your core, which will automatically make you feel good about your body. And you might be a little bit more aware of what you're eating. So, oh, actually, I feel really good. Why would I want to then put a bunch of food in my body that I know I shouldn't need? So I guess that brings into nutrition as well. Just being aware of your portion sizing. I am someone who's all about balance, and it's something that I've had to learn. I don't want to tell people what they can and can't eat, especially over at Christmas time and New Year's, when you don't want to be that one person at the table that's like, oh, I can't have that. Like, and have fun and enjoy it, but don't maybe load up your plate. You can always go back for seconds if you need it. Don't shovel food into your mouth without realizing what you're eating. Food is there to enjoy, and if you're eating it mindlessly, you're not really enjoying it. And so what's the point? That's kind of what I believe anyway. So maybe watch your portion sizes. Make sure that you sort of have a source of protein, fat, and carbs on your plate.
Right.
Drink enough water throughout the day so that your body's not tricking you into thinking it's hungry when it's actually dehydrated.
Right. Yeah.
Little minor things of being aware of what you're eating and how much you're eating will make a huge difference. But as I said, I'm not going to tell anyone what they can and can't eat.
No, you're good. You're good like that. I know from personally knowing you.
Yeah.
Tell me, is there any like, is it better to if you are going to indulge, is it better to do small amounts regularly throughout the day, or are you better to sort of boost up this meal and eat less at other times through the day? Is there any pattern that we should be mindful of?
Personally, I think everyone's different. Everyone's body reacts differently. If you know that you're going to, so say on Christmas Day, like we usually have a lunch, a Christmas lunch, and that's sort of our thing. So I would just be aware that I know in that meal, I'm probably going to eat a little bit more than what I usually would. It'll probably be a little bit like more sauces. If you're having ham, there'll probably be a glaze on it. So I'll just be aware of my other meals throughout the day. If your family is more like they kind of snack throughout the day, then you just want to make sure that you are getting in a meal so that you're not snacking on bad stuff that's not really fueling your body.
Right.
Have a meal in the morning. As I said, I'm a big advocate of starting your day on the right foot. It gets you in the right mindset from the very start of your day. that's why I think breakfast is a big deal. Everyone's different. Some people might not like breakfast, and that's fine. But for me personally, I will have a good breakfast, and then I know throughout the day I'll be way more aware of what I'm eating, because I'm like, oh, okay, if I've had a good breakfast, I don't feel as hungry. I feel like I've started on the right note, and then maybe might think a little bit more about what I'm eating. So just make sure you have at least one sustainable meal, and then just be aware of how much you're snacking throughout the day. Everyone's a bit different. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's going to be those people that are going to go to one family for lunch and another family for dinner. So it'll be important to them to really watch their portion sizes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And just what they're eating, make sure that you don't just go and grab a bunch of potatoes and not really any broccoli or something like that. Like try and keep some form of balance.
Yeah.
As I said, you want to try and make sure that you have your protein, fat, and carbs on your plate, just so that you can see that. And as I said, you can always go back for seconds. Let your tummy settle, eat a little bit slower, maybe, so that your body registers that it is full. I mean, I've done it multiple times where I'll just eat and eat and eat because I've been hungry, and then I feel sick afterwards. I'm like, damn, shouldn't have eaten that much. Just be aware.
Yeah. Oh, I think I'm the queen of eating slowly, so. Taylor, that's all the questions that I have, and I know that you, along with me, wish our audience well in their efforts to get their summer bodies. So I think it's really important that they give themselves achievable goals, and that whatever they're doing is sustainable, so they're not going to yo-yo in and out of dietary habits or even exercise habits, that it is something that they can carry on well past summer. So have you got any final words before we thank our audience?
Well, I guess just agree with that completely. At the moment, I'm doing a 6-week program with some people from my gym, and what I'm really trying to get them to realize is, yes, you have 6 weeks to do this challenge, but it's where you go after that that's going to make the difference. So as you say, it needs to be sustainable, and it needs to be something that you can carry on through busy times, as well as while you're on holiday and you have a bit more free time. You want to keep it consistent as much as you can. That's where you're going to get the results.
Great. That's awesome, Taylor. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I hope that you got some helpful ideas from Taylor. She is a really passionate personal trainer. So if you want to reach out to her, I will have her contact details at the end of the video. But in the meantime, stay safe. Bye for now.
Bye.